We are incredibly excited with Christina and Katharina and Bice and Daniel and Philip to welcome this morning Elena Foster. Elena needs, of course, no introduction. There are so many parallel realities to Elena's work. Elena brings many different fields together. Is the co-founder and vice president of the Norman Foster Foundation, the founder of the Ivory Press in Madrid, has written an extraordinary book which is really relevant for everything which happens here at E.A.T in terms of bringing different fields together. An incredible book on salons, on the history of salons and how salons can bring the different disciplines together. And these are just a few of the many dimensions of the work of Elena Foster. And Elena is going to introduce with me this morning the work of Barbara Stauffacher Solomon, the welcome work, which is, as you heard yesterday, in St. Moritz. We hope you can all, either today or later this year, go and see it and experience it. It's a very, very big public artwork, and it has a lot to do, it's a welcoming artwork, has a lot to do with togetherness, as we discussed yesterday. E.A.T said the world needs togetherness, not separation, love, not suspicion, a common future, not isolation, and that's very much, I think, the mantra connected to this work of Barbara Stauffacher Solomon. A very warm welcome to Elena Foster.
So, it's easier. I'm extraordinarily happy and honored to be here this morning, this Sunday morning, to share with you our vision about this extraordinary artist, Barbara Stauffacher Solomon, who is a woman now 94, but belongs to this kind of universe of women who have a fire in their belly to create, to overcome obstacles. They don't know sometimes where they want to go, but they keep it going, which is the important thing. They keep on and keep on and keep on. She studied dancing and painting in the Institute of Art in San Francisco, married very early, with 20 years old, a great filmmaker. This is the one she took the last name of a Stauffacher, and he died very early and decided to move to Switzerland and to find a way to sustain his little baby, and finished in Basel, and was the first American who studied in the Basel Institute of Art, and spent there many years studying typo, printing, binding, the aesthetics of books, and the aesthetics also of supergraphics. And at one point in time, decided to come back to San Francisco. Remind me, when I explore her life here at that time, remind me immensely Heidi Bucher. Remind me also other women like Luchita Hurtado. Even I found a picture of her with a boy with Luchita Hurtado in San Francisco in black and white. So equals come together. So Luchita, Heidi, and Barbara, I think, were a trio at that time in the Engadin, trying to find their own way. When she came back to San Francisco, she continued, and she took with her as ambassadress, the aesthetics of Swiss design, and is with the impressionist, typical of California, create what is the work that we know from her. I have been follow her for many years, also her books. The first one, for instance, Green Architecture and Agrarian Garden, is a must. I hear now is writing her 7th book. And comes here one morning in the station of St. Moritz, waiting for a train with my friend Hans Ulbricht. We were there having a delicious croissant and no one, 2 or 3 coffees, talking about projects that we could do with the Serpentine. As you know, Hans is the soul of the Serpentine. Couldn't exist without him. He's the artist director. I am the chair of the council. And we work together with Bettina, who is the CEO, to push the boundaries and do as much as interesting, attractive, different, avant-garde exhibitions, and also another actions who bring intelligent and brilliant young people to our place. And until now, we are proud that we have done an increscendo in the last years. But this, we thought, what about looking at the lake? What about to create something real powerful here? Something different, something that the lake and the area, the town, didn't know before. No one sculpture here and sculpture there. No, something that really the people can keep in the memories, to create a memory, and perhaps after to create a symbol. And just in a matter of a second, of course, Hans said, what about Barbara? Barbara is ideal for here, because Barbara can work very well with the surfaces of the lake, or the surfaces of the wall underneath the rail station, and create something, some message that make this space kind, make this space cool, new, and taking in account that the typo and the faces and the design of Barbara is always very abstract. And in this case, she came with the word of welcome, but one can read it in different levels. Can read it as a wall, as a rectangles, creating words, or can read it as a symbol, as an sculpture, as something that the town wants to convey to everybody. We were a little bit worried that the space were very narrow with the cars and couldn't be seen from the lake. We did several tests, and now with the lake completely frozen, you can go to the end of the lake and see the monumental symbol. I don't want to enter here into the meanings and semiology of words. Like yesterday was a try in the late morning, what the backward significance of words like freedom or like hope. I worked many years ago with Chomsky in California, and later with Saussure. And what I heard yesterday is the opposite of what Chomsky talked to us. Words have always an immense weight, for good and for bad. And words is, at the end, what create the cognitive structure who make us be who we are. Who we are free or we are not. We are optimist or we are pessimist. This is another topic, but coming back to Barbara and this group of amazing women who were alone and succeed, they had very clear that they have to fight for freedom. Freedom, existential freedom. And they have to renounce to many things. And also, continually, they keep hope. And this is the reason they are living so many years, because it's experimentally proof that the more optimist thoughts that you create every day, the more years you will live. And that is not a charade or a banal statement. It's based in a very serious research. So Barbara is a symbol for all of us, for me, as a publisher, as a person who are, in the last 27 years, completely involved in books to make it more beautiful and more attractive to all the generations. Very modest and very luxurious, very small and very big, very cheap and very expensive. But the core is to make it attractive to the reader. And that takes a lot of effort, and also to know how others, like Barbara, has created a very iconic way to confront the creation and the design of sentences or truism like Jenny Holzer. And I think in this case, Barbara has created a symbol that could stay here forever in St. Moritz, should stay here in St. Moritz, as a symbol of openness and a symbol of generosity and freedom, that everybody is welcome here in the valley. If it's not, welcome will go to another country, or, but we are not going to allow it to die. Barbara cannot be here today because cannot travel at this point in time in her life, but she has done an interview with Hans. All of this has been possible thanks to the town of St. Moritz, has been possible also with the help of the gallery that represent Barbara here in the Engadin Bombarda, has been possible, and mainly has been possible, and has been the first help that have offered to the Doris and Thomas Amann Foundation, who I call George, and I explained the situation, and I said, this is in the last, but we need you. I know still all the funds are not distributed. I said, Elena, you tell me, I try, but I tell you, it's for sure. He was in the moment. It's for St. Moritz, it's for the Engadin. Doris and Thomas love the Engadin, and we love Barbara's work. So how much we can expect that our first funds can go to this project. And the project is a project of the Council of the Serpentine. that Hans direct. He's the boss. We all work for Hans. And Hans, so we cannot live without Hans. We email him like 10 times per day, even more. And he also write back. So we work al unisono, which is one of the joy for the Serpentine, for us to work in the Serpentine. We don't have bureaucracy. We have a very direct family relationship, and we have the hope and the strength and the thirst and the expectativas to do the best. So thank you for inviting me to share with you this project that we do hope that those who still didn't visit in the valley, in the Lake of St. Maurice, can go there and see it, not only from the road, but in front of where now is the whole structure for polo and for and it's really monumental. It's really beautiful, and the choice of white has been the right one, because it's delicate, it's elegant, it's delicate, it's not imposing. No? We are here to welcome. It's just that. So,
Elena, thank you so much. Big round of applause for Elena Foster. And we are so grateful to you for really the miracle of the production of this reality, because you also had the idea for the site. It's a magical site, and you will see in the conversation with Bobby, as Barbara Stauffacher Solomon is called and likes to be called. So basically, by her friends, in Bobby's talk, she really talks about public art. For her, the hope lies in public art. It's this idea that we go with art to the people and that we go with art to everyone. And of course, she also hopes that this work can stay forever in St. Moritz and can become eventually permanent. But in addition to that, there is also printed matter. And as Elena mentioned, I mean, artist books are so important to circulate art. It's a democratic way of circulating art. And Bobby has always been interested in printed matter. And that's why it's so exciting that she has specially for E.A.T created this new poster, which is an artwork for all of you to take away. There are copies outside. And that has to do with her practice of making drawings every single day. So she has this stack of papers and is basically having a very feverish activity in a very different way from Louis Bourgeois, because of course it has always connected also to graphic, but it is a daily practice of drawing like with Louise, and we are very excited that for E.A.T, Bobby has created this work. So we'll see the film now, but again, Elena, thank you so much for everything, for the milagros you create, and a big round of applause again for Elena. Thank you so much. You look great. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? You look fine.
Yeah, I'm
we
good.
Both have the same big glasses on.
Exactly the same glasses. I'm in London and so happy to talk to you. We're going to talk about your wonderful welcome piece for St. Moritz.
I like it that we're talking about public art.
Yeah, that's it, because I think it's really important about public art, and we're going to talk about the topic also of E.A.T, about hope. And I wanted to begin.
Let me say one thing about hope.
Yeah.
I don't know if you realize in America that hope is really like saying bullshit these days. It's not a very good subject for any American to talk about. It'll come out of me all wrong, because that's what I think about hope. Public art. I was just talented when I was a little kid in school. I could draw. And my mommy took me up to the San Francisco Art Institute, and they gave me a scholarship when I was about 12 years old, so that I went there all my youth. I was there. I would take the role and had a scholarship there for years and years. And I just had a talent for drawing. It just That's all there was to it. And then when my husband died, I needed to make money. That's when I went to, I had studied painting with David Park, Drip and Drool, and San Francisco Art Institute and all that for years. And then when Frank died, I went off to Switzerland to learn how to make some money. And so I became a graphic designer.
And can you talk about your time in Switzerland? Because you studied with Hofmann,
Yes.
the graphic designer.
Yes, well, I had friends who had met him here. And when I said, what shall I do now? I have to make some money because my husband died. I need to make money. And they all said, go to Armin, learn how to do that. And I did. And Armin and Dorley were marvelous. Yeah. They met my train and they brought chocolates for my daughter. And they found me an apartment in Basel, right on the river. And in school was very funny because Armin told me, just keep your mouth shut and I'll do all the talking. And so he told them that I could speak German and I could be in the school. And the director of the school said, okay. And I kept my mouth shut and didn't say a word. Armin was an angel.
And what did he teach you? How did he transmit? What did you learn from him?
Everything. Well, I mean, I had been a painter. One thing I could do better, I knew about color. I knew about painting big, huge, dropping drip paintings. I had no idea how to do what he was teaching and what he was interested in. And I just went into the classes and I learned it.
Yeah.
It was very funny because nobody spoke to me for about the first year. And I couldn't speak German. But all of a sudden, when I began to learn how to draw and to think in Helvetica, all of a sudden everybody spoke English, except Armin. Armin's English was terrible, but we managed fine. Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about the return then to the US and how the moment you kind of invented supergraphics, how did that happen? Because it's an epiphany which happened in your work, and I was curious if you could tell us about it.
Oh yes, it's very easy to talk about because I've written about it, and also it was very simple. I was going for years with Heinz Hausdorff, the engineer. You know him?
Yeah.
He's famous. Well, he and I were in love for years, but then we didn't get married, and so I went home to San Francisco. And Larry Halpern gave me an office because he was an old friend of my first husband, Frank Stauffacher, in his building. And his first job he was just starting on was the Sea Ranch. And so he just gave me the job of the Sea Ranch. And my office was downstairs and he was upstairs. And from then on, first I made a logo for the Oceanic Properties, Inc., who had bought the 10 years, the 10 mile of the California coast, and they needed a logo and they needed stationery, and then they needed brochures. And I found them a photographer who was a friend of my first husband's he took the photographs for the Sierra Club. He was good at that. The first photographer they were using only knew how to shoot the land in black and white, and it looked like scorched earth. But the Sierra Club guy made it look magnificent. So he took the photographs and I made brochures and Larry gave me an office in his building and that was it. And the big thing was that I needed to support myself. And so I called myself a graphic designer, not an artist, because in those days there was no art and art that I never could have supported myself. But by calling myself a graphic designer, then they paid me as if I were an architect. And that was fine. And then at one point, they had this building that Charles Moore and Bill Turnbull had built, the swim and tennis club, and it was all just wood inside. It looked unfinished. And so I said, paint it white and I'll do something with it. I'll treat it like as if it's a three-dimensional. I was still an art student in my mind, and I thought of it as a three-dimensional canvas, and I went in and I started at one corner, one wall, the wall where I put a big, huge wave because of the waves of the Pacific were 100 feet away down the cliff. And then I just went from one wall to the other until I'd done something on most of the walls, wherever I thought I was. And there was one wonderful guy up there, the contractor. He came in to me, and we were there for, I took up 2 sign painters and me. We drove up in the truck and we were painting. And his name was Matty De Silva. He walked in on, I guess, Sunday night after we'd been there, or maybe Monday night. And I looked at Matty and I said, "How does it look? Is it good? Is it telling me, am I finished?" He said, "You made it happy, kid." And that was the end of that. Then I went home, and Marion Conrad was wonderful. I'd gotten her the job as the PR person at the Sea Ranch. And so she rewarded me by getting me on the cover of PA magazine. And that was the beginning of supergraphics.
And can you tell us about the first supergraphics you did? Because I was visiting once Lawrence Halprin and Anna Halprin, and Lawrence Halprin told me that you collaborated.
Oh, yes. Well, my office was in his building. We collaborated on everything, all kinds of jobs all over California, everywhere. He'd get a job and then he'd make me, that's why I did a hospital in Berlin. I did jobs all over because they were, and all his clients, he just sent them down to me when they needed a graphic designer. Now I have a new job. Hans, you'll love it. I'm doing a whole hunk of the museum. They have the 2 entrances to the museum, and you get there and everybody gets mixed up and they can't tell where they're supposed to go next. I'm now doing a bunch of walls there, big red and white stripes with black lettering. And you can't, it's like choreography that just drags people to the right place, to where they are, where they want to go, to the right gallery and to the right kind of a piazza of stripes. And it's in the Botta building, Mario Botta, and he loves stripes. I knew him. He was a
Mario Botta building for the of the SF MoMA.
Yes. Yes, he was a sweetheart and a nice guy, and I'm happy to make stripes in his striped building.
And I'm interested also how you came to this idea of the welcome.
Well, that was in San Francisco that Benedict and I, because actually the word welcome came in my head and it also looked good in my alphabet, and that was it. That's why we decided welcome. That was it. And then it didn't happen in San Francisco, and it did happen in St. Moritz because of the people over there wanted it, and Catherine and different people made it happen.
And now that the welcome sign in St. Moritz is realized, and that your museum piece in San Francisco and many other projects are being realized, do you still have unrealized projects which were too big to be realized, dreams, utopias?
I think this new job in the San Francisco Museum, I'll be able to recognize an awful lot at just the scale. It's bigger and bigger and bigger. And I sort of don't recognize it as a job until it really is a job. But I recognize public art as something that you do that my feelings, as I said, from what I learned in Switzerland and with seeing I think there's one sentence here in the end of this article that you wrote, where you talk about public art coming art which increases sharply on the coming of people realizing that they may be looking at the world, but they're not seeing it. Yeah. And when you bring it to their attention, then they see it. And then all of a sudden, everything becomes public art.